hard drive too.
Yeah.
Hi, Chrissy.
Hi, Mark.
It's I really got to thanks so much because I know you're really really busy these days, and
Oh,
to take the time out to give me a moment to chat with me.
it's hard to wake up. It's so hard to wake up this early. I don't know. I've woken up earlier in the past, but just like I've gotten into the habit of like I'll wake up at like 9 or 10. And so this is good because I'm going to DC on Tuesday. So this is good practice for me, like getting my ass out of bed.
Yeah, the DC thing on Tuesday is I guess it's a Trump rally, another one, right?
Yeah. It's like a final show of support as they certify the electors. And I guess there's like 3 events. There's a bunch of different events going on. So there's like the January 5th meeting at 1 at Freedom. There's a pre-rally, then there's a rally, then there's a post-rally.
Yeah, the
Uh,
post rally, I think that's the one you want to stay away from.
oh yeah, okay, yeah, they're
That's
all
where it
just
all
like
goes down.
at nighttime. Yeah, the post-rally is where you get stabbed late at night in the street.
Post rally, yeah, that's where they'd hang. Oh, they'll be happy to have yours scalp on hanging from
Oh God. Yeah,
street light.
I was just doing a recording with a couple people yesterday who are more, I guess, I don't know, not to say that they're Antifa, although they would call themselves Antifa targets, but I just think they're like lovely people, but they're like even more out there. They're like very, very pro-Trump in
Uh,
everything they do and in their brand. And so they're talking about like what kind of tactical vests they're gonna wear, like what kind of, and I was like, damn, I don't think I'm on anybody's list yet.
well, I heard one video that you were on, and you were kind of sort of I don't know whether they were going to introduce you shortly or whatever, but they were yelling out. Your fans were yelling out, "Chrissy, Chrissy." Do you know
Really?
what I'm talking about?
I don't think I have fans. No. People yelling out. Oh, it could have been like a live stream. Was
You
it
were.
that?
It seemed like you were getting ready to take a stage, and they were like kind of sort of filming you backstage, but you were also with maybe other people from Compound Media, or maybe you were just with other people who I guess, are celebrity podcasters now and are known.
Gosh, maybe. Yeah, maybe it might have been at a DC rally or it could have been
It
behind
definitely
this.
was. It was well. It was a Trump rally.
Okay.
Are you going there? Like I kind of sort of I would imagine you're going there as a journalist, though, in a way, right?
Yes,
Do
I'm
you have
going there
journalist
as a,
credentials?
hold on. I have to show you my new thing I just got. Hold on a second. Hold on. Ah! I just got this very cool thing. This, by the way, is gonna make me look so legit. This is what separates me. This is what separates the men from the boys, is that I got a cube for my microphone.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, this arrived from Amazon. I was like, yeah, this is gonna make me legit. And then I'm just gonna put it, and I got this whole bag with all my like gear and stuff in it. And I'm just gonna like slide it through my microphone, and I'll be
And what is
doing
it that
very.
you're carrying with you? It's a video recorder.
Yeah, no, I'll be recording it. Well, I'll be doing it through StreamYard. I'll be live streaming through my phone. That's what I'll be doing like the day of. And then if I get any sweet interviews, I'll probably record it to my computer, which I got to make space on. Like if I,
I
corner
wouldn't want to
Roger
do with you.
Stone. So
I don't
this
want
is
to cut
it.
you off. Oh
Look how
yeah.
legit. Wow.
Could we just go back a little bit? Um,
Yes.
let's just go back a little bit because it's funny because Aaron Berg posted this.
Love Aaron.
Me too, obviously, because I'm quoting him. But he posted people that have had a good year in 2020, and it was China,
Yep.
Netflix, Harris and Kamala, toilet paper, and I would add Chrissie Mayr to that.
Wow. Oh my God. I thought you were going to say Amazon.
Oh yeah, Amazon was another one there. Amazon was there as well. I missed that one, but Chrissy, like, so if we could just maybe it's a little bit before that, but as far as I can remember, that's when you really picked up steam for some reason. I want you to tell us how that happened. But you were doing Wet Spot on Compound Media over a year ago. So in 2019, you were already doing Wet Spot on Compound
Yeah.
Media, right?
Yeah, I think you've done it. I think you've done
Yeah,
it
I've
at
done it
least.
several times,
Yeah.
and I had fun on it. And it's a lot of fun. Um, but then something happened where most people wouldn't notice, I guess, as a comedian, especially somebody who's, like I think I'm working hard, or I try to do as much as possible. But then I look at other people's workload, and I was just like, what the F is she doing? Because you had the wet spot.
I say that to myself every day.
You had the wet spot, and then all of a sudden you started doing your own other podcast, which I did as well. And then it just seemed like you were doing one a day, and then it seemed like you were doing two a day. And then you were on Twitter a lot too. I want to ask you about Twitter, but what was it the downtime, or did you just decide that you were going to do that anyway?
It was really both, Mark. Like I started my one-on-one podcast in January, and it's really changed so much over the year. When I started it in January, I was going to the AVN Awards in Vegas. I was like, I'm going to interview porn stars. This is going to be great. And I hadn't interviewed anybody before. Like my very first interview, it was like 20 minutes, and it was in the media room, and it was with Karma RX, and I just was like nervous around her because I was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And then I just kept doing it. I was doing about one a week, and then the pandemic lockdown stuff happened. I was kind of depressed March, kind of depressed in April, and then something about May. I think probably just through talking to Frank and like realizing I wanted to do more, I realized I was like, okay, I gotta get back into this, A, and then B, I gotta kick it up a notch, because I feel like I felt like I gotta make up for there's no stand up, and I also need to throw myself into something, or else I'm gonna get like really depressed. And then me and Frank were talking, and we're just like, all right, what about 4 times a week? And I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I can keep that up. That's the scariest thing about making a creative commitment, is knowing you're like, well, now I got to keep this up, because if I slack and I go back to 3 a week or 4 or 2 or 1 a week, now I look like a quitter, and now I look like a slacker. So it's like basically like you shoot really high and you just try to keep, it's like adding weights on. You just try to keep it up. Um Speaking of which, I should probably go back to the gym. And then I just was like, well, I just have to reorganize my life so that I'm able to do all these recordings. And I'll sometimes do, like 3 or 4 recordings in a day. And then I'm like exhausted, but then I'm like, oh, great. I have my whole week done in advance, and I'll just fill out the details. And it's tricky because as I'm interviewing somebody, I'll have loose notes. I'll have just like a few bullet points, but really I'm like listening and kind of waiting for them to drop an interesting nugget on me that I'll kind of lean into and ask more about. And then I'm just taking notes, and then I have to like decipher my own like chicken scratch.
Look, I got to hear. Look.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like nerve wracking, and it's not always easy to interview or talk to somebody. And I like it. I like, because that's what's like, I think I was explaining this to somebody the other day. If I like doing podcasts with like 3 or 4 people, or just like one-on-one, there's something really cool about a one-on-one interview. It's like, especially if you have an hour or something with someone, I forget who. I was trying to reach out to like Jose Canseco to do an interview, and his his agent or whoever, first of all, they were blown away by the fact that I wanted to talk to him for an hour. He was like, oh, he only does like 15 minutes. Cause I guess these guys are used to doing like these short radio interviews. I was like, no, I want an hour. And the manager also said like, no. And he also charges $500. And I was like, oh God, no, it's insane. Who the fuck charges $500 for an interview? And then Frank was like, yeah, I was like, that makes sense. I could see him doing that. And so there's something really great about having an hour alone with somebody where they kind of have nowhere to hide. And I don't mean that in like I'm going to corner them and have them say something they don't mean, but it is nice to like, you can kind of just let the conversation like lay down. And then like, I'll just try to be like on high alert, looking for something interesting to lean into more with them. But it's been a lot of work, and it's weird. Like it's weird to look at my life now and be like, am I a YouTuber now? Am I a podcaster now? Okay. Like to me in the past, I would look at those words as like kind of a step down from being a stand-up or seeing myself as a comedian, which I still am. Like I've done, some gigs here and there. I'm headlining a show. Actually, what's today? On the 8th. So like, wow, is that this Friday already? Yeah. So it's good, and it's also it's made me realize it's like really tapping into a part of my personality, or a part of my creative personality that I've been really wanting to for a while, which is these deeper conversations, but still keeping them funny and lighthearted, and trying to like, I always will interview somebody who I think is interesting, and who I think my audience can learn something from. And
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm the same exact. I found out that I enjoy interviewing a lot.
because you didn't used to interview people as a cop, except there'd be a swinging light bulb.
Yeah. Those interviews like that are sometimes. I've had a couple of podcasts with Bill that there was one guy who was like that too. The guy wanted to come on, and he didn't want to talk about certain things, and I'm looking at Bill.
Hmm.
Why did you even pick this guy? Because what the hell are you doing
Was
here?
he just so closed? And that sucks. You can feel that when somebody's like shut down.
Asshole. I mean, don't. There's certain things I won't ask you. You know what I'm saying? If I know they're controversial, I'm not an investigative reporter. I'm not looking to get to the bottom of it. I don't want to put you in harm's way. But if you come on the show and I don't know anything about you, and there's probably like two of the things that are interesting that I know, and one of them you don't want to talk about, what are we doing here right now? You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Yeah.
we're
If you don't
into
want
an hour.
if you don't want to talk about the thing you're kind of known for, it's like, all right. What are we gonna
So,
do
and
here?
he wasn't even like known or famous or anything like that. Maybe in his circles. Anyway, so back to the podcasting thing. So I think we do, because Bill and I, we do a Monday, a Thursday, and then I have my one-on-one. So that's three.
That's
We'll
good.
probably do somebody else's. Or you're doing four on your own, not including, or you were four on your own, not including the people's that you also do theirs.
And the wet spot. So the wet spot's Monday, and then my podcast is Tuesday through Friday. And even sometimes like Frank will be like, "Oh, that one's great. That one was so topical. You got to put that one out tomorrow." And so I'll have like a Saturday release. And then even last week when we didn't have wet spot because Compound Media was off, I put out one Monday. So I'm occasionally here and there throwing out an extra one. And then my Libsyn account fills up, or my I'll have to like buy more storage or buy more on my plan, which I don't mind, because it's like
What
you're
is
investing in yourself. Libsyn is the hosting platform I use for the audio. So,
oh
um,
at Anchor?
yes. So, and up until this week, I was using Zoom, and like what's great about Zoom, when you're done recording it, it saves for you in your computer an audio file and a video file. And then I'll put the video file on YouTube, I'll put the audio file on Libsyn, and Libsyn goes to Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and I
Uh,
think Stitcher and a few others. Um, So that's the thing. And then with StreamYard, it's, you can add more graphics. I think you can add graphics in Zoom. It's just harder. And it's just like, it was always so mysterious to me. But StreamYard is like, you can be your own little engineer, which I like.
so you are also very active on Twitter.
I
Well,
like Twitter. I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter.
tell us about what you love and what you hate about that.
Oh God. I mean, I hate that, everybody was like, really upset when the censorship came out full blast before the election. Be like, they're censoring Trump. They're straight up deleting. I really was so upset at how like Chrissy Teigen came after the QAnon community over the summer. I'm like, what the fuck? Twitter is just bending over for this girl. For this, well, she's a woman. We're like the same age, but I don't know. I just like, you ever like have a hard time seeing yourself as the same age as people who are the same age?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's like a mental disability or something, but
No, it's not. I'm
I think,
53, and
yeah.
most of the time I look at people my age, men especially, and I have a hard time believing that this guy's also 53.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's
Cause
usually
you're so
because they look a lot
youthful.
older.
Yeah.
They act a lot older. Or
That's what it is. That has to be what it is. And so I was so pissed at Twitter over the summer. I'm like, the crazy censorship. They're totally bending over for Chrissy Teigen. They're totally targeting like people who are believers in QAnon as bad folks, as agitators, as trolls. It's like they're not. They're just people who really hate pedophilia. That's really the long and short of it. And while that's going on, there's legit child porn on Twitter. So much of it would disturb you. Like, and I had no clue until this was a topic of conversation over the summer. And then I have fans being like, yeah, it is really bad. And they'd send me accounts. and I would click on it, and I like, I mean, I couldn't believe it. It's like I'm 30, I've gone my whole life, 37 years without seeing child porn. And hopefully, I mean, it would have been great to go the whole thing without seeing any. But it's like, it's almost like, and you know what it is when you see a crime or something, or when I was a lifeguard, it's like, oh God, you see somebody bleeding. It's obviously horrible. And that's how it felt when I saw this, like when people sent these like accounts to me. I was like, okay, I obviously
Yeah, you know
don't,
how they
you
describe
don't want to see it. Of course, no one wants to see it, but you're like, okay, well, I have to take care of this. Like, I have to report this account. It's kind of like when you see somebody bleeding or you see a crime scene. You obviously, it's hard to look at, but it's like, well, you're there to help. It's kind of like the surgeon who's got to like pull out a bullet or something.
when in police training, I went to the sex crimes course, and the one thing that they really let you know is when you come across child porn, you're gonna know. It's not
Yeah,
Fields posing in Jordache jeans
it
when
hits
she was
you.
12 years old. That was provocative. It's you're gonna know when you see it.
It
And
feels dark. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to. It's like it's dark. It's vile. It just
Yeah.
you shouldn't see it.
Of course, no one like, and nobody watching this is because probably none of your fans are gonna go just like looking for it. It's horrible. It's like nobody wants to see it, but when you see it, you're just like, and it's like, I don't know, my soul hurts. And I was like, wow. So I dedicated like whatever it was, a full week. I'm just like taking down all these accounts. I was tweeting like, guys, help me take down these accounts and stuff. And then I got taken down for trying to take down these accounts. And I was like, wow. I'm like, Twitter's priorities are so fucked that they'd rather target me than these actual accounts. And they'd rather bend over backwards for Chrissy Teigen, who's a super, as superficial as they come, but she's a celebrity. And she's like she's the cancel queen. She was like, ah, fuck Goya. And she loves
That
to
didn't work
attack
out.
people. No, it did not work. Everyone's Goya made out great in that situation.
Funny thing about cancel culture is they're gonna prod you. Depending on look at Joe Rogan, they were prodding him. He's the bear sitting on the mountain.
Yeah, they
They're prodding him,
were.
and then when they realize that they can't do anything, then they're gonna go after your friends. They go one rung lower.
Yep.
They're gonna start prodding, and that's what happened to. That's my theory anyway. On Chris D'Elia
Absolutely.
and the other guy Brian Callahan, um, and the other guy he kind of sort of dipped out for a minute. I'm not
Dalia.
that.
Yeah.
Well, they both did, but then there's the other one that who was actually a fighter.
Brian Callen?
No, the one that was actually a
Joey
real.
Diaz? No.
No, there's one that was a real fighter. He was in the UFC, but anyway, he
Oh, wow.
kind of low. I think he's separated himself from Chris, and he's getting a little backlash from that. Like, I don't get that. Like, to me, if you're my friend, you're gonna be my friend. I don't fuck this all this other shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's because Hollywood people, you know what I mean? It's like, it's icky, but that's how it is. It's like they're friends with you until they get to throw you under the bus for their own benefit.
Career too. If it's money involved, maybe it's a little bit different. I get it a lot different. You know, like if I'm not going to be able to work because I'm associated with you, then we're going to have to hang out in the house, you know, and play video games inside and smoke inside. But
that sucks. Yeah. Then you really see who your real friends were.
But I think honestly though, if you had more people with cojones, balls, then they couldn't touch you.
Yeah.
That's the problem too, because it's so effective, and you know, depending on how much it hurts you.
Right. And the person doing the canceling feels such a sense of power and importance, and like their opinion matters so much. Like they get to decide and cancel. Whereas, like, oh, that person probably had thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans. Oh, but your opinion is more important because you get to cancel them. And so therefore you're better. It's actually the most selfish thing you can do.
But being on Twitter a lot, I noticed you know your skin is thick. Like I mean, 'cause when you're on Twitter, like if you bother to read the comments, which you kind of sort of have to engage with the
right.
comments, that you
Right.
have to read the bad ones, and you seem to just let it roll off. It doesn't bother you that much. It doesn't feel like it does.
Yeah, I think that's just because it's happened so much. Like I've like I feel like I've pissed off so many people over the years that, like, I guess it does. You do kind of build up a tolerance, and you kind of like, you know what the worst is. And the worst for me was like it was a toss up between like Utica was pretty bad. I made fun of Utica a couple years ago. I put out this video. I was in Utica. It was called
I
like,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, it was like Chrissy's shitty tour of Utica. And then about either it was like months or weeks later, the local radio station picked up on it. And then there was this Utica backlash. They were like, not everybody from Utica does meth. And then quietly in my DMs, people from Utica would be like, you're right. We do have a big meth problem here. And it was like, just a goof. It was like it was just, I think I had a couple drinks at a bar and then I was just walking around doing like a tour video. So but that was my first like massive, like backlash, like massive trolling. And then was March after, I released this Kung Flu fighting sketch where we each, we were doing a parody of Gal Gadot's like Imagine video, like at the beginning of the lockdown. Gal was like, Imagine. And everyone was like, ugh. And it didn't land. And everybody's like, the cracks really started to show on our relationship with celebrities, and like really I feel like the bubble's been fully popped on Hollywood and celebrities. I think people are fucking over it and don't care and aren't looking to them for answers or inspiration or even like distraction anymore. And so I put out that Kung Flu fighting like sort of like parody video, and the woke Asian community came after me. I remember the guy from SNL. I keep calling him Byron. I know that's not his name. Bowen Yang. He and we're not even like friends, but he tweeted like nobody in New York City comedy respects Chrissie Mayr. I was like, okay, wow. So of course I took a screenshot and made it my background for a couple months. And like that was bad because then when a whole group comes after you, they don't just, let's say it's a tweet or it's one video, and I did post a video like in Instagram, Twitter, like kind of everywhere, right? They don't just go into the comments of that video. They go into the comments of shit you've done before, after, and it was that for like a good, also I think 6 weeks straight of just like oh, and then like the trolls do weird shit too. Like they signed me up for like an Asian, because they're so dumb. They thought that I made up the lyrics to Kung Flu fighting. They thought I made up the phrase Kung Flu, even though it was like a trending hashtag already. But these people are so dumb. They're actually convinced that I have some sort of like of racism against Asian people. So they would sign me up for like an Asian dating sites. They would sign me up. I guess they figured out, well, yeah, my email's public. So they would sign me up for like different jobs, even like job postings. Like I would have the weirdest shit coming into my inbox and I'd be like, oh, it's these woke Asian trolls, they're just like, just every weird thing you could think of, they signed me up for. And I was like, all right, I guess that's a bit more clever than just like, hurling insults in my comments, and like most of them I would leave up. If something was really bothering me, I'll delete it. Like with Twitter, like if someone really is incessant and it's like one or two negative comments, no big deal. But if I recognize a name and I go, oh, it's this fucking guy again. It's every day with them. It's every month with them. It's every couple of weeks I'm seeing nasty comments from this person. I'll just block, and I've gotten a lot more comfortable. And I used to see blocking as like giving up or being weak, and it's not at all. It's like this person is only here to like try and like fuck up your world. So it immediately makes you feel better, and you're like, oh yeah, this person is like crumb. They're meaningless. I mean, they mean something to someone somewhere, but like there's no point in like breaking off a little piece of your head for this person.
I
So
had a little bit of I had only one moment where I got a lot of negative feedback. That was from being on the nightly show on Comedy Central. And, I went on as a comedian, part of a panel, but I was the cop. So it was that voice of,
when was that?
it was when Sandra Bland got arrested
Oh
before
wow.
she died.
So what was that? 2 years ago or something?
No,
No.
it was like 5 or 6 years ago,
Oh
maybe
damn.
5 years ago. But she wound up dying in corrections because she was in corrections. So she got arrested in the street, then went to corrections, and then died like from suicide like 3 days later.
Wow.
So in that meantime, I had a bunch of jokes. And mind you, when you're on Comedy Central and you're going to sit in on a panel, you don't just wing it.
No, you have to be
Then
prepared as fuck. Yep.
I got it the night before, wrote some stuff, emailed
Wow.
it, They emailed me something back. They spoke to me on my drive in. We went through it again. When I got there, two people came to my dressing room.
Wait, you said you got it the night before?
No, I wrote
Okay.
some stuff.
Okay. How much notice, how much time did you have to prepare?
Well, it was like the day before. Can you come in tomorrow?
Damn. Okay, that's not a lot of notice.
No, but I knew the story and we talked on the phone for a little bit. So then it started building up. I sent them some stuff. They send me, like I said, now we're in my dressing room. We're talking. And then I go out and do it. And one of those things when you're part of a panel, just like being on a podcast, is it's almost like double dutch in a way. If you decide you're going to sit back in the cut, they're going to blow you. You're going to get lost. You're
Yeah.
never going to say anything. So as soon as this guy finished his first sentence, I was out. First one. So getting the jokes out, and it worked. But then she wound up dying. So may she rest in peace. By the way, I don't.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at this situation.
Yeah, it was horrible what happened to her. But as a result of that, that's when I felt the wrath of what, wishing my family dead and all this stuff like that. So I know that it can get really, really ugly. And I don't know, like you're a lot younger than me. So Twitter and all this, like, for example, you mentioned you were at a bar and you decided to take a tour of Utica. You had a couple of drinks. So that was something, the way your brain works. Let me think of content. Let me think of something funny to walk around. And, it's one of those things you have to train yourself to always think that way. Let's see what I can take in over here. Let's see what I can post. Let's see and my brain doesn't really work that way. It works that way when it comes to comedy, always thinking funny, trying to be funny all the time. But as far as content, it's another thing you have to train yourself for, to have an eye for it all the time. To this would be good. I should record this, or this should be good. I don't know. I just like my moments, like, to not do that all day.
I know what you mean. I know that feeling because I look at people like Ryan Long and I go, holy shit, man, that guy churns out like not only a video every week, every Monday, but it's like they're so funny and none of them are throwaways and they're these well thought out cultural observations. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, damn, where does he get, all these ideas from? And I feel like I'm so sporadic with how I get ideas, like up until really May, when I've decided to be, like dedicated and like committed to like, okay, these four times a week podcast. But before that, like I started my YouTube channel, I think, I don't know, maybe in like 2006 or something, and didn't put shit on it. Like I would put something on it maybe once a year. I was so bad at putting out content, and I would get like, occasional sketch ideas, but I was really bad at it. And then I went to Utica and I'm looking around and I'm like, this place is such a like a shithole. It's like plus it's funny because it used to be popping. I mean, during like when there was more industry in this country, like it definitely had a heyday. But you know what it is? I'm like looking around, I'm just like laughing to myself because I'm just thinking, I saw a sign that said like, best bar in town. And I was like, yeah, but this is probably it's the only one that's open, because you look around and a lot of things are shut down. You see a video store that's shut down, and then you can tell what year the video store shut down by what videos are like in the window because they're bleaching out. They're like bleaching out to that like blue color, And I saw like an empty foundation, when they like start to try to build a building and then they just gave up, but it was filled with water. And I was like, oh, look at this outdoor pool. Like I'm just making fun of, like, just noticing my surroundings.
It's a lot of times it's not meth too. It's the other drug that the hippie heroin.
Heroin, crack.
Heroin.
Oh, really? How is it different than regular heroin?
It's the pill. What's that pill called again?
Poppers? No, Oxy.
Oxy, yeah. See, that stuff is taking down a lot of towns.
That's very sad.
You're talking about like Utica, those like upstate towns.
Yeah. Yes.
An hour drive from the city. A lot of those towns have been taken down by those pills.
Wow. Which
Not
is very sad. And like maybe if I were thinking of that at the time, I wouldn't have thought to make a funny video. But I just was like, to me, there's something funny about the idea of like a shitty tour where like I'm not showing you the best the town has to offer. I'm just showing you like whatever's in this 4 block radius.
No, it's funny. It's it's really funny. And that's the thing. Unfortunately, when you want to do comedy, there's going to be a target. Now they want to make the target always you now, self-deprecating. But there's only so much self-deprecating that people want to hear. It's good for like 5 minutes, and then tell me something else. I get
Right.
it, you're fat. I get it, you're skinny. I get it, you got pimples. You never get laid. You're not quite the man that your father was. I get it. But you got some, everybody's doing it now because they're so scared to make fun of something else.
Oh
Not
yeah,
themselves.
even being self-deprecating can come back to bite you on the ass. Like I had a tweet this summer where I was making fun of Chrissy Teigen again, and because she had a miscarriage. I think it was a fake miscarriage. I think it was like she was burying a lot of bad press because there were a lot of holes in the story and a lot of sketchy things. So I was like, all right, I just tweeted out like, um, my mom had 2 miscarriages, but she did it the old fashioned way without a photo shoot. So there was a tweet that's a joke about my mom, my family, right? But people came after me like, how dare you make fun of how dare you make fun of grief? Like I'm not making fun of grief. I'm making fun of my mom, which I can do because that's my lived experience. But people are so fucking triggerable.
Well, they
That's
get it.
not a
They
word.
get where the joke was
Yeah.
supposed to be, but it's a funny joke.
Yeah, and so it's like
It's,
people even run into problems making fun of themselves, like, oh, because you can't touch trans people, you can't touch overweight people. It seems like society has decided there are like all these
well, look
protected
at what happened
woke.
with Amy Schumer and her tweet about Hilaria and how she got rid of it.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it was tongue in cheek. It was cute. She said, "Oh, I've been to Spain a couple of times too, and think I could speak Spanish," something like that. And I loved it. Something. It was
That's
tongue. In,
safe. That's a safe
it was
one.
funny. It was tongue in cheek. But the point is, it's like she must have got a call from somewhere, like her management
Oh, that
saying, "Oh,
sucks.
your boss, Alec really liked you, whatever," and she got rid of the tweet. And
Ugh.
that's where you stop being a comedian.
Yeah, because guess what? You're not answering your own creative impulses anymore. You're answering to somebody else, which is to me that's very sad. Like that's the death of creativity.
But you also did get the joke out.
Yes, but then you're not standing behind it. It's like, yes,
No,
people will take
can we go?
screenshots, sure, but it's like there's no dignity there.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you know what it is. Once you get the money, they're like, "Well, if you want any more of this, you should probably get rid of the tweet because then
Right.
because now you're part of the group. You don't. You have a couple of movies underneath your belt. You're part of the system right now, so you gotta leave
Yep.
those jokes to the up and comers, really. And I know it's part of her personality, and she probably can't help herself. But maybe she could just give those really good jokes to somebody else and let them let them put it up.
I think every comic, it's interesting because like most comics, most of us like want to be successful actors, comedians, like, and it's almost like you can get to a point where you're so successful that you can't be as creative. It's like you trade money for creativity because you can't push boundaries. Like that's the whole point of being
Well,
a
since you,
comic.
since you brought that up, I'll do a little segue here. Howard Stern is guilty of that, or a lot of people say he's guilty of that because he was the outsider looking in, and he always he tortured Hollywood. He tortured that life, um, as best, and that's why he basically had the fan base that he did because he was this outsider
Yeah.
making fun of all these people,
Yep.
and then somehow, I guess it was Jimmy Kimmel befriended him, and now he's on the dark side. I mean, there's nothing left of him. He really is like the complete opposite of what he used to be. That being said, you had Stuttering John on the show. That interview didn't work out that way.
Woo! It
I
was
don't
the
know what
worst
happened.
feeling
I didn't
ever.
watch the whole thing. I just watched like a little piece of it. From what I saw, he seemed to be a little condescending right up front. I don't know where they're
Right off
pulling
the
up the
right
red.
out the gate, he was condescending. Yeah, he
Why
he
was
first
that?
When was it? It
Why
was over
was it?
oh, why? Because I think he forgot that he was doing my podcast. I think he forgot he was doing my podcast, got drunk, and then when I sent him a reminder text or email, he was like, "Oh shit." He didn't like have the balls to cancel. And I think part of him thought that he was doing my compound media show, Wet Spot. And I think part of him still really wants to get in good with compound media or Kumia, even though like he's constantly bringing up Kumi. I think it's like he has some sort of a love-hate relationship with the whole network. And so honestly, because when we first started, he was like, oh, he didn't know what show he was doing of mine. He's like, oh, is this for Compound Media? I'm like, no, John, this is my podcast. It goes everywhere. Da da da. And so he'd already started drinking, and then like we hit the topic, and then the first half of the interview went great, as good as it could have gone, because I'm asking him about Stern and what was it like, like just working there. And I'll ask everybody who's worked on Stern like what they think, because it's what you mentioned, Mark, like, oh, he went Hollywood, he changed. Like, do you think this is him changing or him just growing older and not wanting to push boundaries as much? So I always like bringing up that topic, and it was good until the topic of Trump came up, and then he got weird. He's like, oh, is this whole interview going to be about Trump, when it clearly had been mostly about him and Howard Stern? So I was like, interesting. And everyone's triggered by something. But to me, I know if someone's triggered by something, it's like, okay, that's something to explore. There's a rock to kick over there. And I was like, no, John, this is just a question I ask like everybody in comedy. Like, I just figured, because that's where I went wrong. I picked the word dabble. I said, because you dabble in stand up, right? And he couldn't get over it. It was just like, he kept bringing it up, and I was like, and I had never had a conflict like that in a podcast before. Like,
Yeah.
there have been people who don't open up, right? And you know this too, that you kind of have to pull stuff out of them. And it's like, okay, that's your job as interviewer. That's the work you have to do. But I'd never had a conflict like this so great, where I was like, oh, this person fucking hates me, and I have to make this last 20 more minutes. And I was just, I had that like hot feeling in my chest. It's like that adrenaline, and like and you feel your head feels hot, and you're just like, your heart's beating so fast. And then also his camera had frozen. So I was like afraid to tell him his camera was frozen, because I'm like, I don't want him to just shut down the interview. And then I have this like 25-minute, very, very short episode. So I just was like, I felt like I was walking on eggshells with him ever since, and it was such a normal question. Like, has Trump been good for comedy? Anybody can answer that, even if someone's not a comic. But it's because I used the word dabble to describe his stand-up career. I've been doing it for 20 years. And I was like, I could have been meaner. I wasn't even thinking of being mean to him, but I was thinking like, I haven't seen your name on any marquee. I haven't seen your name any place I've ever performed. And I know I've been performing for like 10 years.
Mhm.
And it's like, you have a sense of who's getting up and about, like I would see Jeremy Piven's name everywhere, and he got into it.
I get it.
It's like, who's performing and who's not. And so that was just an honest
Even in
thing.
other states,
Yeah, exactly.
because we have Facebook now, you have people promote. So
Yep.
at some point, you're gonna, even LA. Like Tommy Savage is doing a show in LA. Stuttering John could be on it, but he's not. I'd never seen him on a flyer.
Right. And so it's also like, oh, and that my biggest turnoff is when someone is arrogant, which Stuttering John is so arrogant. And for somebody who's been so lucky, and I feel like even still able to coast off something he did 20 years ago, it's like you're very lucky to have that still, and still have fans. But I just feel bad. I just feel like he kind of is spinning out of control, and he drinks a lot, and he doesn't know how to keep his brand going. So, and that's kind of been like the challenge for everybody during the lockdown, is like, how do you pivot? How do you strengthen your brand? Because if you're banking off people just remembering the last time you're on stage, you're toast.
Oh yeah.
So,
So, which brings me to another interesting question. What do you think is going to happen with stand up?
ugh, it's very
Your gut
sad.
feeling. Your
It's
gut
ver-
feeling.
it's my gut feeling is I really think ugh, it may, people like to talk about New York a lot, and right, because it's the biggest city closest to us. I do think it's going to be like maybe another. it's just not gonna matter, I think, for years. Yes, these open mics can creep back up. Yes, these rooftop shows can happen, but it's like New York has like lost its steam as a cultural hub because I think I'll start to know when New York is going to come back when the Broadway dancers come back. You know what I mean? Because they've all moved back to their hometowns. They're either all working in local theater
Probably fat as shit.
or they're working at the grocery store. So like
Fat as shit.
yeah, when Broadway starts to come back, then I'll be like, okay, New York as an entertainment spot is starting to come back to life, and I think that's when, because people with disposable income, they're out pretty much, like the people that were coming to comedy shows, living that life, the audience, the people that were spending money to be an audience member, like they're gone. And sure, there might be enough scrappy comics that hung around the city. They're like, I'm gonna wait it out, I'm gonna be back as soon as I can. It's like, yeah, but do we have enough people to pay for shows to keep all of us going? And that's the thing too, Mark, is like a lot of these coffee stores and restaurants, the places that would provide the day jobs for like the beginning to mid to even like very experienced comics that still needed day jobs, like a lot of those, half the restaurants in the city have gone under. So it's like the places that would provide day jobs for comics are few and far between too. So it's like all the things that needed to be in place for New York City to be a comedy mecca are kind of like really fucked right now. So I think comedy's good, and LA is so fucked too. I mean, look at all the people who got out of town in LA. Obviously Rogan is gone, Hinchcliffe, a lot of those big LA guys have left town. Not that there's still a few left. Sam Tripoli's still there. There's still a few left living there, but I think LA as a comedy hub is
I think
gone. I
the
think
hubs are
Texas
gonna
is gonna
move.
Texas is gonna be
I
more of
think
up and
what's gonna
coming.
happen is the hubs are gonna move.
Yeah.
You're gonna, because it's not so, before you know it, if you're a businessman and you're in a place like Nashville or Texas, even Ohio, I did Ray DeVito's, anywhere that's open right now. It's one thing that I didn't realize about comedy. I kind of sort of had it in the back of my mind time to time, but it really became apparently clear during this COVID is how many comedians come from money.
Oh my God. Isn't it
It's
sickening to realize
disgusting.
this?
I mean, it's just,
Makes me want to puke.
oh, it's disgusting because here you like, and I hate to say because a lot of them are my friends, but because they're perpetrating a fraud. Like, oh, you
Oh
work.
yeah.
No, I
They're living
realize,
a
oh, you
lie.
work in Starbucks for like 2 days a week for a 4-hour shift here and there. Just, but like because now you start asking questions like, oh, you lived in the city, because now you see the pictures and the footage from them at home in like
Oh my God.
some estate.
The
They got
Christmas
a pool.
pictures, that's
Yeah,
always
they got a
very
pool.
telling. Look
And
at
I'm
the
like, you left all of this to come into the city. Because usually, like when you think about comedians, you think about
yeah.
people talk about struggle. They talk about, struggle. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, you see like, oh, they weren't really struggling that much.
No,
No
like
wonder
they
they
don't
were
have
out at
they don't
every single
they
spot, every single night.
they have no kids, they have no elderly parents to support, no they either have no job or they work for their parents, or they just like, yeah,
Because in the
it's
beginning, when people start doing comedy, and you come up with this group. At least I did. It was like everybody who was hitting the open mics at that time
yep.
was your
You get
group.
to know them. That's like they're your
Yeah. And
people.
then people are doing their little day job thing. But at some point, now all of a sudden, so and so is not working anymore, and you're like, how's that?
How do you do that? Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, things are going that good. You make $300, you're paying rent, and some of them are cute that they'll move into other people's apartments and get a room there and this,
Oh
that, and the
yeah.
other. But a lot of people have 1-bedroom apartments in the city. You know what I'm saying? Like
I did so many roommates. Oh my, I've never not had a roommate. I like, and I remember I had like 3 roommates in a row that I all just found from Craigslist. Like they could have all murdered me, but I'm like, this is what I have to do. I moved in with a 65-year-old woman who wasn't my mom because it was rent controlled in Astoria. I was like, $900 a month. I can live with a crazy old lady who eats my food. Sure, sign me up.
you probably paid her whole rent.
That's what I wondered because I knew she was getting unemployment checks because she was like she wasn't working. And I was like, am I secretly paying the whole rent? Because she had a huge bedroom. She had con- control over the living room. It was one of these old, I think it was a pre-war apartment, whatever. And I had my little room and she was a psycho. I lived there for 4 years because like, well, it's either this or move back in with my parents and then my commute's even longer. So
She was eating your food.
yeah, she would eat my food, Susan. She would eat my food.
What would she eat? Like, would
She would
she?
eat my Kind bar. I used to be into Kind bars, and now I think they're kind of gross. But like, oh yeah, and she'd be like, "Oops, I ate the whole box," and there'd be like 12 in a box. Like, so it's like she was eating this over time. Like she just let herself kept. I remember I had a really nice like birthday cake from I got from Magnolia. I splurged for my birthday one year, and I like had leftovers, and she would be like, "Sorry, I ate your cake," and she would just like eat half of it would be gone. I'd be like, "Jesus Christ!" She'd be like a little mouse at night, and she would like get into my shit, but then she wouldn't. I don't think she would. Maybe once she bought the thing that she ate, but usually she just would tell me, and
Mhm.
she would never repay it. She would never give me money for it, and she was like, so. I think I don't know. And then I felt bad for her. I'm like, is she not making any money? But then I was like, I feel like I'm secretly paying the whole rent for this fucking place.
And
She's
I
so
don't want to
weird.
knock the comics that actually went home and to their parents' house to
No,
get out of the city to save money, whatever, like that, and they're not loaded. It just seemed to me like, oh, I get it. I get
you
now.
can see, you can tell
Yeah,
who's
now I'm
loaded.
starting to get
Yeah,
it. Like, and listen, if you're funny, you're funny. But listen, if you have all day to think of these jokes, and that's all you're doing. And I'm listen, I come from the. I think that the best part of jokes is when you're immersed in life, when you're actually dealing with people. You can
yeah.
tell the humor is different. You know what I'm saying? Than the bullshit and like, for
You're
example.
living a real life. You're not just like it's not like the only interaction you have with people all day is like going to the coffee shop and like sitting on your laptop for 3 hours. Like
I know.
I agree with you. I think it's better. I think it makes you a real person
When I
because
hear
you're
the
doing
joke, something like, "Oh, I would never want to have kids because like, what the fuck are you talking about?
like you
20
sound
years old. What are you doing a joke about?"
right.
The, instead of just saying, "I saw a kid do this today," you know what I'm saying? But or I would never get married. There's things that are like out of your, they say write what you know. But anyway, I want to move on to something else.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like it has to be very clever and sometimes they'll just throw out stuff that they think is edgy. I totally know what you mean, like that kind of young comic style of let me just like say what's edgy and then like there's no punchline.
So, what other famous people that you have on? I know there was one other person. Was it John Stamos that you had on there?
I wish I had Uncle Jesse.
Wasn't there a guy that you had on there early on with the wet spot that or was it
Oh,
wet
let's
spot or
see.
the private
For
company?
for Wet Spot, who is
No, I
most
don't think it was wet spot. I think it was the
oh,
one.
maybe it's my other podcast. I mean, most famous. Roger Stone probably is the most famous.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. How was he? Was he cool? He seemed
Oh
cool.
God, I was intimidated. He's very cool. He's so cool. I like couldn't believe that he wanted to talk to me. I was like, oh, this is so great. And I was like overwhelmed. But then it was cool. Like there was like a good 9 or 10 minutes where we were just talking about what kind of pizza we like. And I was like, that to me felt like the best because I was like, okay, cool. Wow. I feel like
He
I
seems
can
to me like a guy
connect.
who got railroaded just because of the when we
Yeah.
talk about the cancel culture and attacking the people that are below you.
Yep.
It wasn't
Exactly.
just dead
Because
Trump, but everybody who was around him.
yep.
And mind you, those people that are doing the attacking, especially there in Washington, have done 1,000,001 times worse
Yep.
than what they
Yeah.
were attacking these people. They were attacking the people that are under that were under Trump. They got caught up in all, and he was one of the people that. And the more I hear that guy talk, the more I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. He sounds cool anyway.
He's very cool. He's like a living legend. He's worked with like so many different like presidential campaigns. He's like a walking history book. And he's a cool dude. And like you're right, he is just getting shit because he's been lifelong friends with Trump and was an advisor to him. So but yeah, like a stylish, cool old dude. Like, yeah, I'm definitely I'm definitely a fan. And I like talking to people who have been censored or canceled or who've gone through a lot of shit. Like that's why I really enjoyed talking to Gavin McGinnis as well. Just anybody who I'm like, wow, like the more somebody is censored, the
Mhm.
more I want to talk to them. Like the more they're like a bad boy.
What's funny about what's funny about Gavin is that I used to go to Compound to do his podcast when it was at Compound. I didn't know anything about I didn't know anything about the alt right. I didn't know about Proud Boys. I don't even think it was a thing yet. I don't think
Yeah.
Proud Boys was a thing yet. I
Because
used to go,
it wasn't. It was started as a joke. It was started as like a men's drinking club. It was never meant to be like the answer to Antifa. It was never, they were just a bunch of dudes who needed help getting laid.
and when I used to go there, and I remember the one Sunday he pulled in, he came in on a video thing. He was talking to us, but he wasn't in the studio. Was the other guy who was alt right but very gay? And then he
Oh,
just,
Milo,
yeah,
Milo.
I don't know. But here I was with Milo and Gavin, and I'm like, I was the cop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So uh, just to not know I didn't know who these people were, and then to see the trajectory of what happened to them afterwards, and how they've pretty much been chewed up and spit out. They'll resurface again in bigger ways. There's only a certain amount of time that you can keep somebody who has something to say down. You know,
Yeah. Right,
and
because Gavin is on censored.tv, and like I think, either Milo gets on there a lot. Like they have ways. They're both on Parlor. That's like a big reason I joined Parlor. I'm like, ooh, I get to see all these people who've been censored. Like I get to
I
I
have
get to follow
Parler
Alex
too.
Jones. Cool.
I have Parler too. I've been trying, but I'm not.
And getting back to like the love-hate relationship with Twitter, like I hated all this censorship, and then people are like, oh, Parlor, finally, it's the free speech Twitter, but it's like, it's not as good. Twitter's way more user-friendly. It's like, it's just, I don't know, it's a cleaner layout. So it's that's why I have a love-hate relationship with Parlor. I mean with Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is like, for like I mentioned earlier, the age. You're at a good age where you were young enough to kind of sort of be able to produce the amount of content necessary. Also, let go of so much of your personal time. I didn't grow up like that. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So it was like everything that you do is, for me, is like pulling teeth. I have to remind myself, oh, you should do a video for this.
yeah.
I have to
It's
remind myself, post this, promote this, do this. And I do it. I do it the best that I can. I try to stay on top of it. I'm getting better. But it's a lot of work, and it's something that doesn't come naturally to me.
It's
Uh,
hard. It really has to become like another job. Like people hire folks to do what we do for ourselves all the time, to do their posting, to shoot content, to tweet, to like it's you have to keep it up. It's like I get it. Some days I'm like this is a real pain in the ass. Like why can't I just work at the bank? But like, you know.
so speaking of that, we're going to wrap up. I got a couple of things. Speaking of that, I mean, for anybody who's out there aspiring to be the next Chrissy Mayer, um, is it lucrative? Is it coming the money? Is it worth it? Are you still like? Is there a hope? Or are you still trying to grab? What's that like?
The money. I mean, what's interesting is like doing my own thing, starting my own podcast, and like Compound too. I do, even though that's an established network, I do consider that like branching because to like make a decision to pitch a show to that network, it was like a conscious decision to break away from this like I don't know, I don't want to call it a pipe dream, but like for years, you're kind of like pining away for the industry to notice you and to give you validation, and there's certain ways in which like right, getting anything on Comedy Central is one of those things, or getting into JFL, or getting a late night spot on like Fallon, or it used to be Letterman or the Tonight Show or whatever. Those are ways in which when you grow up in comedy, you're like, oh, these are the ways that I'll know that I'm a success and I'm going somewhere and I should stay with it, and then I'm funny. And those weren't really coming to me. Like I got a TV spot here and there, like laughs on Fox and a quick thing on America's Got Talent, and like, so I would get credits, but I was not I felt like I was logging the years and I wasn't hitting the marks I needed to hit. So I was like, all right, well, my sense of humor is more in line with compound media than it is with like this woke crowd that I feel like the industry loves, and that's not me. So I'm like, let me pitch a show to compound media. And boom, I got so many more fans, like not overnight, but over the period of months from going on to Compound to do characters on In Hot Water. And then I pitched my own show like a year later. So I got more out of like a year at Compound than I did 6 years doing a show at the Stonewall Inn, and which I loved, and it helped, got a lot out of it. But I did not get like hardcore fans and people coming to shows repeatedly. And that's what compound media felt like, a real community. It felt like the first time I was like, oh wow, I'm really building a fan base. This is really exciting. And then from there, I was able to get the confidence to be like, you know what, I can do my own podcast. I think people do want to hear what I have to say. I think I am a good judge of who would be an interesting guest. And then so it's like to start your own podcast is another way you kind of lean away from depending on the industry or depending on somebody else to give you a marker of success. And I was like, just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And it's funny. It's like, because I've gotten more fans and I don't make as much as I want to yet. Like, I don't make enough to pay all my bills just from doing comedy, but that's the goal. Right. So I'm definitely reaching like more of my financial goals, like doing my own thing, than I was just busting my ass trying to get the industry to notice me, if that makes sense. And I'm more fulfilled. I'm
I think
happier.
it's safe to say for anybody who's thinking about, this 10 years, if you're thinking about getting into this business or doing one of the stand up or podcasting or both, all of it, it all kind of sort of, and you have like a window of 10 years. I noticed this about, especially in comedy clubs, and in all fairness, I'm not putting them down, but they pretty much give everybody a shot. Anybody who's remotely funny, and you'll get spots. You'll
Yeah.
be getting, and then at some
And
point,
if you're not a dick, right? If you're nice and you have
yeah.
you make
But at some
relationships with
point,
people.
like you fast forward 10 years later, even though you might have TV credits, and you might be doing well, unless you were like you broke out. At some point they got to let new people in. You know what I'm saying, and trickle some people out. And that's
Yeah,
where
it's
you
like
have to
this
kind of sort of
system. Yeah.
because by that time you should already be a headliner. You should already be a draw, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if you stay in the same spot, you're gonna get dusted, I think.
Relying, you can. There's people are going to be interested in what you're doing, especially early on. But if you want to stay doing it and you don't want to quit, then you have to create your own, and you got to
Yeah.
take the shot. And a lot of times it's going to be, doing as much work. One thing I realized too is the more you put in, you'll get out. I'm talking about quality time, writing wise. Um, what we were talking about, content wise, putting it
Yeah.
there. If it's any good, it'll take care of itself. If you just keep putting it out and churning it out, and you have an incredible work ethic.
Oh, thanks.
Very, let's. The only thing about the work ethic too is a lot of times it's like owning a restaurant. You ever see a restaurant owner? They're there the first year.
There's no days off.
There every day from beginning to closing. Then they never want to see the place again. So it's a weird thing. It's like, because sometimes you got to take a break and regroup. Maybe just do your comedy spots, and then, all right, we're going to give it another surge, and we're going to go back to writing, and we're going to write this thing. But anyway, I got to close out. The reason why I came up with this, it's not only just a one-on-one, but I had to kind of sort of mix it in with our police off, because we have a police off the cuff podcast that Bill and I do.
Yes, it's good.
And thank you. And we also have a Patreon. So this is basically content for our Patreon subscribers. Which, I put it on Patreon for about a week, and then I let it out to the public. But since I have to tie it in with cops or something that has to do with law enforcement, I have a segment on here called Ask a Cop.
Ooh.
And stupid me, because you're my second guest and I forgot to send it to you. I forgot to say, listen, think of a question that you always want to ask a cop. Most of the time, the questions are stupid, by the way.
Okay.
They're just
I could do that.
they're annoying. If you want me to like stay away from you from all future parties, always come up to me with a stupid cop question.
Okay.
Good way, it's a good way for me to avoid you like the plague. But people always have a question they want to ask a cop, so
Oh yeah.
I'm here to answer it.
I
Uh,
have so many. I have so many questions. Like, what do you do if you're, and maybe this is just a sexual fantasy of mine. What do you do if you're like arresting somebody, but you're like, I kind of want to hit on this person? Like, what if, what if you're like breaking up a fight or I don't know, or there's like a drunk woman somewhere that you gotta is throwing up and like, I don't know, like, what if, like, have you ever like banged or hooked up with, or like do you know any guys who have like hit on somebody that they're supposed to be arresting, or like like love has love or attraction ever popped up in places it shouldn't on the job? And
I,
I've heard stories like, yeah, you're banging your coworkers, which is also extremely hot, but I don't know, I just want to know about all that stuff.
I saw a tweet the other day, and it was a girl who she was hit on. Well, she was part of she was assaulted. I think it was an assault. She was assaulted, and then the cop who responded, I guess somehow found out that she had an OnlyFans or an Instagram or something like that. The story was a little convoluted, but anyway, she got assaulted. The cop who responded helped her out, and then called her later on or texted her later on that night. She felt like it was inappropriate, but she didn't say anything. And then, like maybe 2 years later, he found her again and said, I didn't know you had an Instagram or an OnlyFans. I don't know if you remember me. I'm the cop that responded to your assault. And
2 years, wow.
yeah, so she posted it up. And I got to tell you, as a retired cop, it bothered me on both sides. First of all, it bothered me that she would bother posting this up. It seems like she just did it, you know, to uh to just out this freaking cop and just be an asshole, just a fucking asshole. But
Yeah, that's shitty.
I really have to blame the cop more because you're supposed to be professional. You're not supposed to be hitting on the people that you are there to help or arrest. Now, that being said, if you're being somebody's coming on to you, and it happened to me, there was a lady, she was a part of a domestic dispute with her husband. They were getting divorced, and they had twins. And I remember she was being very uh, she was letting it out there that she wanted to hang out or she wanted to come to a comedy show, or she just wanted to be friends with me and socially, which I didn't do for a couple of reasons. First of all, I didn't want to get in the middle of her and her domestic thing. Second of
Yeah.
all, I knew sometimes women want protection. If the person's violent, now all of a sudden I'm in the middle of it, and I'm just not the new boyfriend. I also happen to be a cop, and I also happen to have met
Mm,
her during her domestic violence thing. So I don't want any part of this.
very spicy. Yeah.
Let it go. And the irony is, I'm still friends with her,
Oh,
and the kids are now they're men, like
wow.
you
See,
know,
that's nice.
18 years
Yeah.
old. Yeah, like I never pursued that. Um, but it does happen. You have to be careful. And if you really see guys making the first move in those situations, it's never good. You have to kind of sort of, she's beautiful, but just don't go there. And sometimes they want to thank you. Listen, I wanted to
Hmm.
thank you
With their
because,
mouth.
yeah, I want to thank you because you were so great. You helped me out a lot. Could I take you out to dinner? And then if the case is over, whatever's said and done, it's already behind you. If you want to go out to dinner, we could do that. Now, if they ask you out to dinner, just say, just let me know when you want to go. Give me a call and wait for them to call you.
Okay. Yeah. Don't.
Then
And
when
it's
they
hard
call
because you're
you,
dudes. A lot of dudes are used to making the first move and being,
this way you see how bad they really want you, how interested they really are. A lot of guys that
yeah.
can't, they're not 6'4" and full of muscles.
That's true. I knew a girl comic who now she's married, met her boyfriend, now husband, and he was a cop working in Grand Central. So
Yeah, it happens.
yeah,
It obviously happens. Hopefully, it doesn't happen on a call. But this whole idea that you're not supposed to have a relationship with somebody that you work with is absurd. Sure, some of them go wrong,
yeah,
but how many people, how many of us are alive because mom, chased, dad chased mom around,
right.
the break room table. You know what I'm saying? Didn't take no for an answer. The whole thing is absurd. This whole woke culture. I'm not advocating sexual
Of
abuse
course not.
or
Yeah, but
anything
like,
like that.
but we're also ignoring the fact that I would say most women like it when guys make the first move. And like we're not talking about that anymore. It's like we've divorced ourselves from like actual biology and like what it really means to be like a man or a woman. And of course there's outliers, but I would say still most women want a guy to pursue them. And it's like, I think it's part of this larger conspiracy to sort of like feminize men and like make them less powerful. But that's like a whole other fucking show. I
No,
really
I
think,
agree with you 100%. There's
yeah.
definitely a move towards that, and I wouldn't have fit in this time because I grew up with the Fonz,
Yeah.
Saturday Night Fever. I mean, so many Rocky, Rambo, like all these macho people, and there was a thing about being cool. Cool. You're not a rat. You know how to treat women. You hold the door. You pick up a check. And when I hear, you know, uh, somebody went on a date and they went Dutch, like that's not a
Ugh.
fucking date.
No, it sucks. I'm so much less likely to put out on a first date if we go Dutch. It's like, I could have taken myself out. Like, what's the point? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but that you say that, and like also too, I'm not a sucker.
Of
You
course. Yeah. You're not
got
supposed to
three
date
dates.
somebody to like,
You
get,
got three dates. You know what I'm saying?
drain them. Oh yeah, that's plenty. I mean, I'm already willing to split on the second date. So, but it's the first date. It's like you got to
No,
do it
I'm
on the
not splitting.
first.
I'm not expecting nothing. But if we're going out for the third time, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
both adults, and you want to keep playing tiddlywinks,
She should at
uh,
least try. There should be a reach for the wallet at that point.
yeah. I mean, well, if you're not planning on putting out,
Oh.
then you.
So if you keep putting out,
No,
then
the third date, like if we're, it wouldn't happen anyway, because by that time we're already talking about. There might be some conversation about what's going to happen, where this relationship is going. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying, and if the girl's like, well, I don't really like to sleep around, this, that, and the other, then we're probably not going to get to a third date.
Bye. Yeah.
But if everything's going well, and for no other reason at all, just rather than to just make me wait, uh,
Yeah.
then you're probably never going to see me again.
Right. So what if like it's the third date, she hasn't put out yet, and then the check comes, and then like you're looking at her, she's looking at you, and then it's like, and then she's like, "I'm gonna suck your dick," and then you just grab your wallet.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well,
It's like a standoff.
yeah, if we're gonna get that out of the way, and the funny thing is, I've been out just like uh, for let's say after a gig, whatever, and the comic just happens to be a woman. You know what I'm saying? And now we're sitting there having dinner. So I might pick up the check just I don't know.
To be nice.
Yeah, but I'm not expecting anything. But don't ask me to go get something to eat again. Then
Oh, okay, right,
you
because
want to go get
that.
something to eat. Like if you're gonna just sit there and not go and we're both going into this, and somewhere in the middle of the dinner you start telling me about your boyfriend.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Then at some point, no, no, don't worry about it. I got this. But like, if we're on the show together, they'll say, "You want to go get something to eat?" Nah, I gotta head home. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
So it'd
not.
be better if she was like, "Let's go get something to eat." Like, we'll split it. Or just like it. Yeah, you don't want to feel like
I remember one time
obligated to pay again.
I went out with a girl, and it was after a show, and she ordered she was on that keto diet, so she ordered a steak and eggs, and I told her, "Wait, no, no, we're not doing steak and eggs. We're
Yeah.
in a diner right now. They want
Bring
to
her an egg. Yeah.
they want to charge you for the whole steak, a whole load of eggs on the side."
Damn.
you know? And I was like, no,
Yeah,
we're
they
not
don't
doing
put
this.
that together. Although I will say, like, the steaks at diners are pretty good because people aren't really ordering them too often.
They're great. They're
Yeah.
great. They're also like 24, $25,
Yeah.
you know, for the whole churrasco thing. So I was like, listen, this isn't a steak dinner right now. This is
Yeah. Why don't you get a plate
gave
of
you a ride. You're getting a ride home, and we both stopped to eat.
get a hard-boiled egg to go.
You
Yeah.
know. So, anyways, I
Wait,
want
what
to
so how many other cop questions can I ask you?
go ahead. Ask me another one.
Um, yeah, that's a thing too, piggybacking off the other one. Like in cop training, do they tell you like don't hit on girls? Like don't fuck anybody else in your squad or like don't hit on your female coworkers?
You know, I don't think a lot of it is to kind of sort of takes care of itself. So, for example, if you're an attractive female officer, you're going to be hit on probably by the bosses, depending on your level of attractive.
That happens in every industry. Yeah.
Yeah, so you might not just being a regular officer, you might not have a chance, or you might be smart enough to know stay away from this one, even though she's really hot, because she's already driving the captain. If this
Wow.
cute rookie decides that he's going to start taking the girl out on dates, he's going to be working midnights on a footpost somewhere.
Oh man.
You know, because
Wow.
she's driving the captain, and they want to make sure that they never bump into each other. That's the, I don't know what they're doing now. That's the old
Yeah.
department. So, and then you get to, I don't think there's not that. Put it this way, it's not like TV. It's
Darn it.
not like Law and Order. The female cops, the ones that you know, are like, wow. A lot of them kind of, they don't want men. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
You know,
you gotta make them switch teams. You gotta just work harder, Mark.
listen, it's a tough job.
Yeah,
It's
it
something that you
is.
have to tell people what to do. You have to be authoritative. You got to want to, there's a certain amount of a personality that goes along with it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, have you ever felt like, do a lot of cops feel like there should be rules like, okay, maybe not everyone can be a cop. You know what I mean? Like maybe there should be a height and weight requirement. Maybe there shouldn't be as many female cops. Like I know that's not like the right woke thing to say, but like I would never want to do that job because I could so easily get my ass kicked because I'm 5'3". So I don't know. Have you ever felt or do you talk amongst each other like, man, maybe there should be like a few more requirements?
There used to be, I remember standing in roll call when I was a rookie, and you could see all the veteran cops around, and you were like the new ones, and they had to pick for who's going to work with who and which squad.
Oh, like dodgeball teams.
Yeah, and I remember them being very popular because I was 6'4". I was a bodybuilder.
Oh
And
yeah.
everybody, wanted me to be part of their team just in case shit hit the fan. So if we're picking sides, that's who you want on your side. Now, you fast forward to the police department of this age. I think it's on purpose. They don't want, if you're the administration, like in this city right now, do you really want tough cops? No, you want
You
the
want
cop that's
yeah.
going to get hit in the head with a brick,
Jesus.
and is not going to make a big deal out of it. Why? Because you're using the police to be to take the punishment for you. All they are right now is just an army of people to take your anger out on.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, come and protest. It's going to be peaceful,
Hmm.
and then it's not peaceful. It's not peaceful at all. Cops are getting beat up, and that's not even the worst of it. When somebody's standing right in front of you and yelling at you, calling you a piece of shit, and I hope your children die, and
It's
spitting at you,
horrible. It's horrible.
and they're rich, they're going to go up to their apartment again. Like I have a feeling like these people are possessed. I've never seen
I
that.
think they are too. Yeah.
Yeah, they
I
have.
think there's a real dark element going on. Yeah.
We could too. This is another thing we could talk about all day. But I don't want to keep you anymore because you were kind enough to give me over an hour of your time. And you see what you mentioned earlier about having this hour where you can actually talk to somebody. The one thing I'm noticing is when I have my friends on, we could just, like if
Oh yeah, we could go another hour easily just on. I have more sexual cop questions, but
you want to end on one, go ahead. Give
it's
me one.
funny. No, I think actually what I do want to ask is how, because we've been seeing a lot like in the news lately. I think I noticed this more with like New York, but there are some cops that like, I don't know how to put this, but like it seems like they're being used to shut down small businesses or arrest small business owners or arrest people that are just trying to keep their business going. Is there kind of like a conflict among cops, like the ones that are just they're going to follow orders even if they're kind of unjust and they
Yeah, but
kind
look
of
at who's doing it though. Look at who, when you say cops, you're talking about law enforcement. Who took that guy out of his bar in Staten Island? It wasn't the 120, the precinct. It was the sheriffs.
okay.
Local cops, they're not being called to do this because they wouldn't. So they're using these deputies, these sheriffs. Every time you look at it, just look at the wording there. It's always sheriffs, marshals, deputies.
Hmm.
It's not New York City cops because they know they're not going to
Really?
do it. And the same
Okay.
thing upstate when they wanted to enforce that freaking nonsense that Cuomo wanted to do, that Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah.
They were using the trooper. I mean, not the troopers. The sheriff's department up there said they wouldn't do it. So we're reaching, this is all going to come to a boil. And I'm going to tell you when it's going to come to a boil. This vaccine that's coming out now, okay, there's going to come a time where the frontline workers have had their chance to get it. It's been available to the general public, and there's no lines, or there's very short lines. And all the business owners are going to start looking up. And if the government doesn't stay ahead of it, they're going to say, fuck you. Everybody could have had the freaking test done already, or the vaccine. If you didn't, we're opening up. Too bad.
Yeah.
Got to be consolidated. It's got to be unified.
No more excuses. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I feel like support for the police and like I would notice like I went to a Blue Lives Matter rally over the summer and it's like often it does go hand in hand with Trump supporters and like I'm just concerned that cops are losing support because people they see what they see and they go, "Oh man, we were supporting these cops. Now we're watching them help to arrest this poor small business owner." People get confused. Maybe they think it's their local cops doing this and then they pull their support. And I'm worried because I would hate to see cops like lose their support that way, even if it's,
Yeah. It's a really, really tough spot. And I, from what I've noticed so far, like especially when I mentioned that Staten Island thing, that stuck out to me. Like, oh,
oh yeah.
the sheriffs went in there because the cops wouldn't do it. And I think in those particular instances, like look at what happened. There was a party that got broken up, and they said the word was there was deputies. So the deputies were out driving around, not the local cops, and they noticed 25 people go inside the back door of some bar.
Hmm.
And that's when they went and they did it. So they're having to use outside agencies. And
Interesting.
the more time that goes by, the more people are going to just we already reached the point. Look, they had a rave, I forgot where it was, 2,000 people for like a 72-hour rave. And it's hard to keep the kids. See, one thing that's different about this and the prohibition, where the prohibition was if you drank a lot, you were hurting yourself. And that's where
Right.
speakeasies came in. If you open up your bar right now, you're liable to, people might get sick underneath because they were in your place. And now you have that guilt and you're responsible. You're not just hurting yourself. Other people are getting hurt as a result of it. Even not the people that were at the bar, but so that's the difference. But once the vaccine's out, 2 or 3 months, everybody who could have had it had a chance
Yeah.
to get it. The time is up.
It's like enough already. We're already there. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to stay ahead of it though. I doubt it because I can't see them doing it. They haven't shown any intelligence, especially in these big cities, Los Angeles. And they're going to get rid of that guy, by the way, Gavin Newsom.
Newsom? Oh yeah, he's a bag of garbage. So is
He's
Cuomo.
on his way out. They signed they have the petition over there, and now they got money behind it.
Good.
They have actually a mayor in California that's also part of it too. So he's going to get launched. They're going to do what's called a special election. That's how Arnold got in, by the way.
Ha, that's funny.
He got in on a special election originally, and then he didn't fare that well as a governor either. But um, there's no sign of that happening over here, unfortunately. Maybe we
Ugh.
do with the mayor, but he's only got like a year left. Who knows if New York is finished, so is LA, and then maybe this is part of a grand design to like
Yeah.
let some other cities get some heat. And
Yeah. I agree.
I don't
It's
think Broadway's
everything
coming.
happens for a reason. Yeah.
I don't think Broadway's coming back.
It doesn't. It
Not
doesn't look
here.
like it.
I think
Yeah.
Broadway's going to move. They're going to move to Nashville, or they're going to move to Austin, Texas, or they're going to move to another one of these big cities. And it's just like that. We're going to
Yep.
be forgotten. That's which brings up the other point is like when you see these comics that can go bouncing around and like, okay, there's no comic here in New York, and then okay, so I'll just move to, I don't know, a part of Florida that has comedy clubs, or a part of somewhere else. And you're like, where's the money coming from? Where are you getting? How
To just move. Yeah.
are you doing this? And like a lot of them live like vagabonds. God bless them. They can do that. They're young enough to do that. This whole business is so fucked up. If you think about it, look, I was a cop for 20 years. I got a pension. I have, a health insurance. I've been in the comic for more than 20 years.
Mhm.
And there's no pension, there's no health insurance, there's nothing.
Yeah. It's nothing. You got to just, I don't know. It's
You gotta,
crazy. I
yeah.
have to go. I have to go.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Love you, Mark.
I love you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.